In this video, we'll continue exploring some of the basic tools to be familiar with when creating your own UV layouts in Maya. Okay, so in the previous video, we took a look at the UV texture editor and the information that it represents. And in addition to being able to simply manipulate UVs in this texture editor, Maya also gives you the ability to create your own custom UV layouts. So in order to access the tools to make a custom UV layout, we're going to go up to Edit Polygons, Texture, and these are pretty much the tools that can be used to make your own custom UV sets or custom UV layouts. And that is planar mapping, cylindrical, spherical, and automatic mapping. So let's go ahead and just start at the top with planar mapping, and let's take a look at what that's going to do. So let me go to the options for planar map, and the planar map, what it's basically going to do is try and project the UVs in only one axis, and you can choose between either X, Y, Z, or a camera. So let's go ahead and just leave it set to Z axis, and let's see what a planar map is going to do. So with Z axis selected, let's go ahead and project this, and here's basically what you get. If you look at your axis manipulators down in the lower corner, you can see that it projected it along the Z axis. Okay, so everything looks great in the Z-axis, but once you go to orbit around, you can see this area right here, and this is being caused by stretching in the texture. So what you have is a perfectly straight texture from this Z-axis, and the further around this object you get, the more that stretches until you come back around to the Z-axis again. So this can definitely be a useful UV layout tool, but you can definitely run into some problems such as this. And if you take a look at the UV layout or the UV texture editor, you can see exactly what this UV layout now looks like. Okay, and I may actually want to go ahead and turn the checker texture off for this. If this wireframe just gets too difficult to see, you can always go up to View, and go up to Image, and turn off Display Image. And now you can see exactly what the UV layout for this sphere now looks like. Now, like I said, you can, in addition to just doing the X-axis, let me go back to the options, you can change the axis of projection. So if I said the Y-axis and project it, you can see it now projected it straight down. But again, once you get further away from that Y-axis, you start to get much more stretching. And again, you can see in the UV layout exactly what this projection looks like. So you can always grab these UVs if you wanted to in order to make subtle changes. So if I were to grab, let's say, these UVs, you can see here they are on the model. And I could always move these around to adjust how this texture is going to flow. If I ever needed to make any subtle changes to this, we have that ability. So let me get out of my component mode, and let me go back to the planar map options. And one option that I really find to be very valuable is this camera checkbox. And what it's going to do is whatever axis or whatever direction your camera is pointing, it's going to use that as the direction for your planar map. So if I had this set to camera and project this, you can see on my camera view this texture looks perfect. But as I orbit around, you can see that same stretching. So this is actually a very useful tool when you have to project directly onto faces that aren't lying directly on either one of the X, Y, or Z axes. Okay, so, and again, you can see how the UV layout for this looks. Now, in addition to being able to project on just the object itself, you also have the ability to project on individual faces. So if I were to go to face selection, and let's just select a handful of faces here, we could actually make a custom UV layout for just these faces. And you can see these faces selected in the UV texture editor as well. So with these faces selected, if I wanted to make a new planar map, and I'll go ahead and just leave this set to camera, project these, Now you can see that we have a custom UV layout for just these faces. And with this manipulator around the outside of it, we can adjust how the texture fits on these faces. And as I adjust this manipulator, you can see these faces changing in the UV texture editor. Okay, so I have that ability as well. Okay, so in the next video, we'll go ahead and take a look at some of these further projection options.